Imagine you wake up one morning and realize you're making $100,000 a year. Sounds amazing, right? You might think, I finally made it. And no more stressing about every little purchase. No more checking your bank account before ordering dinner. Maybe now you can travel more, upgrade your car, move into a nicer apartment, and finally start living the life you always imagined. But then something strange happens. A few years later, you're still making around $100,000. Your apartment is nicer. Your car is newer. Your restaurants are more expensive. Your subscriptions have multiplied. Your vacations look better on Instagram. And somehow, you still feel broke. You don't understand it. You make more money than most people ever imagined making when they were younger. So why doesn't it feel like you're rich? The answer isn't always that you're spending too much. It's something much more dangerous. Your lifestyle learned how to spend your income before your income learned how to build your wealth. And once that happens, even $100,000 can feel surprisingly small. Let's imagine two people. Both make exactly $100,000 a year. Person A gets a raise and immediately thinks, great, I can finally afford the things I've been waiting for. So the apartment gets upgraded. Then comes the new car. Then better restaurants. Then weekend trips. Then premium subscriptions. Then expensive hobbies. And eventually, spending $7,000 a month doesn't feel luxurious anymore. It feels normal. Person B also gets the same $100,000 salary. But instead of upgrading everything, they upgrade only a few things. They keep their old car a little longer. They move into a reasonably comfortable home. They increase their investments. They build an emergency fund. And most importantly, they allow their lifestyle to grow slower than their income. 5 years later, both people may look successful. But financially, they're living in completely different worlds. And this is where the trap becomes interesting. Because the problem isn't simply spending money. The problem is what happens after spending becomes your new normal. The lifestyle trap. There's a psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. The name sounds complicated, but the idea is incredibly simple. Humans get used to things very quickly. Think about the first time you bought something you really wanted. Maybe it was your first expensive phone. You opened the box. You couldn't stop looking at it. It felt special. A few months later, it's just your phone. The same thing happens with houses, cars, clothes, restaurants, vacations, and even salaries. At first, $100,000 feels incredible. Then your brain adjusts, and suddenly, $100,000 isn't a lot of money. It's just your normal income. This creates a dangerous cycle. You earn more. You spend more. Your lifestyle improves. Your brain adjusts. Then you need even more money to feel financially comfortable. So you work harder. Earn more. Spend more. Adjust again and repeat. It's almost like running on a treadmill. You're moving constantly, but you're not actually getting closer to financial freedom. The $100,000 illusion. Here's where many people misunderstand income. They think if I make 6 figures, I should feel rich. But income and wealth are two completely different things. Income is the money coming in. Wealth is what you get to keep and what continues working for you. Imagine someone earning $100,000 but spending $95,000 every year. Now imagine someone earning $70,000 but spending $50,000 and investing the difference consistently. Who is financially stronger? The answer isn't automatically the person with the $100,000 salary, because the first person has a bigger income. But the second person may have a bigger gap between income and spending. And that gap is incredibly important. You can think of it as your wealth building space. The bigger the space, the more room you have to invest, save, handle emergencies, and make choices without depending completely on your next paycheck. But lifestyle inflation slowly eats that space. How lifestyle inflation sneaks in. The scary part is that lifestyle inflation rarely feels irresponsible. It usually feels reasonable. You get a raise. Maybe your salary increases from $70,000 to $85,000. You tell yourself, I deserve a better apartment. And honestly, maybe you do. Then you upgrade your car. Again, it seems reasonable. Then you start eating out more because you're working longer hours. Reasonable. You travel more because you finally have money. Reasonable. You buy better clothes because you're earning more. Reasonable. None of these decisions individually look dangerous. That's the trick. The lifestyle trap doesn't usually destroy you with one giant purchase. It slowly raises the definition of what normal costs. Your old $2,000 apartment suddenly feels cheap. Your old $300 car payment feels outdated. Cooking at home starts feeling inconvenient. Flying economy feels uncomfortable. And eventually, your previous lifestyle looks like something you used to do when you were broke. Even though that lifestyle may have been perfectly comfortable. The comparison trap. There's another force making this worse. Other people. You don't just compare your lifestyle with your past. You compare it with everyone around you. Imagine you're making $100,000. You might feel great until your coworker buys a $70,000 car. Then your friend moves into a luxury apartment. Then someone you went to college with posts a vacation in Europe. Then another person buys a house. Suddenly, your $100,000 income doesn't feel impressive anymore. This is because money is often relative. You don't ask, do I have enough? You ask, do I have as much as them? And that's a game you can never finish, because there's almost always someone ahead. Someone has a bigger house. Someone has a nicer car. Someone travels more. Someone earns $200,000. Someone earns $500,000. And if your definition of success depends on being ahead of other people, you've created a game with no finish line. The silent cost nobody talks about. But lifestyle inflation has another cost, and it's not just the money you spend. It's the freedom you give up. Let's say you increase your monthly expenses by $2,000. At first, it doesn't seem dramatic. It's just another $2,000. But now imagine that extra expense requires you to keep working for years. You may need to accept a job you don't like. You may hesitate to start a business. You may stay in a toxic workplace. You may avoid taking a career break. You may feel trapped because your monthly bills have become too large. This is the hidden cost of lifestyle inflation. Every recurring expense creates a small obligation against your future income. A bigger lifestyle can look like freedom from the outside, while quietly reducing your freedom on the inside. The $1 million difference. Let's make this more concrete. Imagine two people both receive a $20,000 raise. Person A spends almost all of it: new car, better apartment, more vacations, more restaurants, more expensive hobbies. After taxes and expenses, most of the extra income disappears. Person B does something different. They upgrade one part of their lifestyle. Maybe they take a better vacation. Maybe they move somewhere slightly nicer, but they invest a large portion of the raise. Now something interesting happens. Person B isn't just earning more money, they're gradually building assets. And those assets can eventually produce more money. That creates a second source of financial growth. Your salary works when you work, but investments can potentially continue growing while you're sleeping. That's why wealth building isn't simply about earning more. It's about creating a system where part of every increase in income becomes future freedom. The psychology behind I deserve it. Now, there's an important point here. You shouldn't feel guilty for enjoying your money. Money is supposed to improve your life. The problem begins when every increase in income automatically becomes an increase in spending. There's a psychological story we tell ourselves. I worked hard, so I deserve this. And sometimes that's absolutely true. But ask yourself a better question. Do I deserve this purchase, or do I deserve the freedom this money could eventually buy me? Those are two very different rewards. A $5,000 vacation gives you memories. That's valuable. But investing $5,000 could potentially become much more valuable over time. The answer doesn't have to be one or the other. You can enjoy the vacation and still invest. The goal isn't to live like you're poor. The goal is to make sure your lifestyle doesn't consume every future option you could have. The 70/30 problem. Here's a simple way to think about every raise. Let's say you receive an extra $1,000 per month after taxes. Instead of allowing your lifestyle to absorb the entire amount, you could deliberately divide it. Maybe $300 improves your current life, and $700 goes toward your future. Or maybe it's $500 and $500. The exact percentage isn't the point, the principle is. Don't let your lifestyle automatically capture 100% of every raise, because if it does, you can make $50,000. Then $70,000, then $100,000. Then $150,000 and somehow still feel like you need another raise. Instead, create a rule. When my income rises, my future gets a raise too. That's a powerful mindset shift. The lifestyle ceiling. Here's another strategy. Instead of asking, how much can I afford? Ask, how much do I actually need? Those questions sound similar. They're not. If your income increases from $80,000 to $100,000, you don't automatically need a $20,000 lifestyle upgrade. Maybe your existing lifestyle already gives you everything you genuinely value. Comfortable home, reliable transportation, good food, occasional travel, entertainment, time with family and friends. If your basic needs and important wants are already covered, additional income can become something much more powerful. It can become optionality. Money that gives you choices. The choice to change careers. The choice to take time off. The choice to move. The choice to start something. The choice to say no. And eventually, the choice to work because you want to, rather than because you have to. The real definition of rich. This leads to a strange conclusion. Maybe being rich isn't about having the most expensive lifestyle. Maybe being rich is having the ability to maintain your life without constantly worrying about your next paycheck. Someone driving a luxury car with massive monthly payments may look rich. Someone driving a 10-year-old car with a large investment portfolio may look ordinary. But appearances don't tell you who has more financial freedom. And that's why chasing the appearance of wealth can be one of the most expensive games you can play. Because the things that make you look rich often require money. But the things that make you actually wealthy often require patience. So what should you do if you're making good money but still feel broke? Start with 3 questions. First, what expenses have become normal simply because my income increased? Look at your subscriptions, your housing, your car, eating out, shopping, travel, entertainment. Don't judge yourself. Just identify what changed. Second, if my income increased by 20%, would my lifestyle automatically increase by 20%? If the answer is yes, you may have lifestyle inflation controlling your financial decisions. Third, what percentage of my next raise will belong to my future self? Decide before the money arrives. Because once the extra money hits your bank account, your brain will immediately find something to spend it on. That's normal human behavior. So don't rely entirely on willpower. Create rules. Automate investments. Increase savings when your income rises. Keep some lifestyle upgrades intentional. And most importantly, Give yourself permission to enjoy money without turning every luxury into a permanent monthly expense. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Making $100,000 doesn't automatically make you rich. But making $100,000 also doesn't mean you should feel poor. The difference is what happens between those two extremes. If every raise becomes a bigger apartment, a bigger car, a bigger monthly payment, and a bigger list of things you need, then your income can rise forever without your freedom ever catching up. But if every raise gives a small part of your life more comfort, and gives an even bigger part of your future more freedom, something changes. You stop chasing a number. You start building a life. Because the ultimate goal of making more money isn't to create a lifestyle so expensive that you have to keep working forever. It's to create enough financial space that eventually your money gives you choices. And maybe that's the real reason $100,000 can feel poor. Not because $100,000 isn't enough, but because somewhere along the way, we've taught our lifestyle to spend every dollar before our future ever got a chance to keep one. So the next time your income goes up, don't just ask, "What can I afford now?" Ask the more important question, "What can this extra money make possible for the person I want to become?"